Heretic.
Ooh, psychological horror.
Yes.
More like, oh.
That also sounded like Ariel.
Oh, yeah.
Before your voice gets stolen.
Yeah, totally.
Hello. Do you want to play a game?
What's your favorite scary movie?
Be afraid. Be very afraid. See dead people.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Here's Johnny.
The power of Christ compels you! The power of Christ compels you!
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
Welcome to Talking Horror with Jamie and Nikisha.
Hi, I'm Jamie.
Hi, and I'm Nikisha, and this is. I had to say it,
Oh, I love it.
and I'm not apologizing for it.
Never.
I'm yes-anding Jamie's hi. I'm Nikisha, and this is Talking Horror with Jamie,
And Nikisha.
where we share our love for all things scary and talk horror through the lens of human behavior. I wore my lens today, Jamie.
Mine are so dirty. It's
Oh,
gross.
no.
I need to clean.
Oh yeah, I lost my. I always in my pocket carry a like a
Cloth?
microfiber cloth, and
Mhm.
I lost it at jury duty because I had to empty all my pockets, and it must have fallen out, and I never put it back in. So I ordered another one off of Etsy. I like a fun one, so I did it that way, and I wanted to
Yes.
support some of those businesses. So yeah, that's what I did. Not
I mean, that's
sponsored,
great.
not sponsored.
Not sponsored at all. Also not sponsored is this cleaner that do you guys have a cleaner for your glasses?
Yeah,
No,
I have it
okay.
somewhere. I don't use it. It's
I'm
all
not
dusty.
fancy.
It's not clean.
This is from Chicago when I had to get my glasses because I couldn't see shows that I was trying to see because everything was blurry.
Oh
Yay,
yeah. Well, if you're gonna,
stigmatism.
yeah. Oh damn. I mean, if you're gonna live in a movie theater building, you gotta. You know what I mean?
We got to see some things. So
Yeah.
And that was Lynn's Parlor Talk. Thank you for that.
Come, sit, have a drink. It's parlor talk.
But that's not why we're here. Today, we are talking about the 2024 psychological horror film, Heretic.
Ooh, psychological horror.
Yes.
More like, oh.
That also sounded like Ariel.
Oh yeah.
Before your voice gets stolen.
Yeah, totally.
A good time. But yes, we are talking about Heretic today, and boy, do we have a lot of things to discuss. But this movie was written and directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods, and it stars Hugh Grant, Sophie Thatcher, and Chloe East. Oh, Hugh Grant, I've only seen you in all of your wonderful rom-coms, and it was very nice to see him in this psychological horror.
You have to watch Paddington 2.
Okay, haven't watched either of them. So
Yeah, I
put it on
haven't
the
seen them
list.
either, but I hear they're excellent.
They're excellent movies. The third one's coming out, but the first one is great. Actually, so next week on the podcast, we're doing The Others, starring the villain of Paddington, Nicole Kidman. And this week, we're doing Heretic, starring the villain of Paddington 2, Hugh Grant.
Got it. Oh, I love that. Okay.
This is our peripheral Paddington series.
Yes. Actually, that's pretty excellent. Also, I want to say Aaron Albano also was trying to get me to watch Paddington because
They're
loves
good.
them. Yes.
They're actually good. Like not like they're not like, well, that's a good kids movie. Like sure, there's kids stuff in it, but like it's a genuinely good movie. Two good movies with excellent performances, specifically Hugh Grant in the second one.
Love it. Yeah, it's like Inside Out is just a good movie, even though it is a kids movie. Like,
Right.
So Paddington. All right, I'm gonna put it on my list to watch with all my other things. Great. So heavy spoilers for Heretic, and Jamie, please run us through those trigger warnings.
Yes. If you don't like religious horror,
Yeah.
this might not be the watch for you. Also, like more specifically, like Mormonism. I mean, there's also references to Christianity and Judaism, but really focusing on these two Mormon missionaries. There's also a throat slashing, a poisoning, a weird dungeon, people in cages.
Head bludgeoning,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
pie,
Stabbings.
Pie.
poison pie.
I said
Poison pie.
poisoning.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know how people feel about pie.
Who doesn't like pie?
I don't know. I love pie.
We are a pro pie podcast.
This is a pro pie podcast.
Excellent. Also, somebody's fingers get chopped off. One of the little prisoners.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Snowstorms, but most importantly, if you are triggered by Jar Jar Binks, this is not the film for you.
I forgot about that. Did laugh out loud in the theater when that happened.
Absolutely. That was great. Oh, I can't wait to get into all of this. Okay, any more trigger warnings, Jamie or Brian?
I think
No.
just like
I mean, taking advantage of women, I feel like generally is
Yeah.
a theme.
Topher Grace
Yes.
in one scene. If you don't like Topher Grace in small roles, not for you.
Very small role, and it didn't even help. But
He probably just needed insurance.
Oh, ha! You get those weeks.
You gotta get those
Excellent.
weeks, those SAG weeks, baby.
Oh, that's so real. It hurts. Great. All right. Well, before we get into everything Heretic, producer Brian, please give us some words.
Hi, everybody. I'm producer Brian. These are some words. Today we're doing Heretic, but if you're like, man, I wish they did more. Well, we do. It's on social media. At Talk Horror Pod. We are on TikTok. We are on Instagram. I'm not posting on Twitter anymore.
I was gonna ask, and we should have had a.
Do we
side
have
note
a
before we
blue
did this.
sky?
That's
I'm
what I
trying
wanted
to
ask.
set it up. I'm trying
Okay.
to set it up. I'm having trouble because I think I set it up a while ago, and I can't. I'm figuring it out. But we are.
Because I think you follow me on Blue Sky, so hopefully you can still get back into it.
Yeah, I can get in on my personal one, which I might just have to rename or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, I'm trying to figure it out. But I'm just not posting on Twitter anymore. It's all gonna go on Blue Sky once we get there. But right now, Instagram and TikTok are the two where we really are.
Threads?
So check us out there. Oh, I guess I could do. I think I definitely have a Threads account for Talking Horror.
Okay.
So maybe I have to figure it out. That's just a lot for one little man like myself to do.
Yes.
and I got a baby. And then yeah, as I said, follow us on all those at Talk Horror Pod, and then of course you can find us on YouTube. Hi YouTube.
Hi.
We are there. Hey T. My algorithm is completely devastated by Pokemon cards, so
No.
We're collectors now.
We're Pokemon collectors.
That's
now.
the true horror is
Yeah.
losing yourself to a new hobby financially.
Yes.
Oh no.
But follow us there, and then as I mentioned, next week for Thanksgiving we're doing the family-friendly film The Others, starring Nicole Kidman. Focused around a family, and maybe that's another way of saying it. Anyway, so watch that for next week if you're following along here. But thanks, as always, thanks for tuning in, thanks for listening, thanks for watching. We really appreciate it. We're growing steadily. It's really cool, and it's thanks to all of you.
Thanks to you.
Thanks to you. Was it like PBS? Like, thanks to viewers like you, like me. Oh my god!
That's like when we're in AMC and they're like, and thank you to our what is the
AMC Stubbs A-list.
Yeah,
A-list. And
I'm like,
I always
you.
look at Brian whenever they
Thank
say
you.
it. And he's like,
You're
thank
welcome.
you in the theater every time
Yeah.
without fail.
Love
Yeah.
it.
But yeah, thank you all for tuning in and finding value in what we're doing over here. We really, really appreciate it. Give us a follow on those sites if you haven't yet. And we'll talk at the end. But again, reviews really do help us. I know, like every podcast listener is like, give us a review, but like it does, like it helps the algorithm, all that BS and the nonsense, whatever. So we really appreciate it. And put a request in there, and we'll try and do it for sure. Or request anything on social media too. We'll try and do it. We have a list of the requests that we try to filter in. The others was a request, I believe. So we're just trying to filter them all in. It was a request by me. I love that movie. But yeah, cool. That was a lot of words. I'm sorry. Back to
No, it's all
you.
good. I'm glad that you brought up Blue Sky because I definitely am probably going to get a Blue Sky account as
Cool.
well.
Yeah.
And I also want to point out too, because I deactivated my Instagram just for a second, just to give myself a break. But the only thing that I miss about social media is the scrolling. Didn't realize that on YouTube they have shorts, and it's just everything that people post on their Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah, that's what I use.
I didn't
shorts for.
realize that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now I've
Yeah.
substituted scrolling mindlessly on Instagram to scrolling mindlessly on
Yeah.
YouTube, and then I see our shorts, and I'm like, oh, like. So that's also a thing to go like our
it's us.
YouTube.
Totally.
Fantastic. Well, before we get into everything that is Heretic, I do have to share that I did watch something, you guys.
Oh,
Hey, what'd you watch?
what?
I watched It's What's Inside.
Oh,
Okay, tell us
Okay.
everything, but not everything, but everything.
But I loved it. And y'all told me that
Yes.
I would love it.
Awesome.
And man, so many words that I can't even, like, my brain just exploded thinking about that movie,
Mhm.
which is relevant because that's kind
Right.
of the essence of the
Fair.
movie. I loved how everything was shot. I loved all of the colors. I loved the concept. I loved them going back and forth between what was real and what wasn't. I don't want to give too much away with it, but I just loved how everything was shot. I loved all the acting. The premise was just insane. And even though I could guess what the ending was, like who actually was who at the end,
Sure.
it still
Mhm.
didn't take away from the whole experience, because I'm like, what is actually happening here? So 10 out of 10. I feel like this is absolutely going to be in my top 5. It's like all these movies we're watching are now
Yeah,
getting
big
at the top
time.
of my
They're all
list.
fighting for top. Yeah.
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 Well, I even said to Jamie the other day, like, there are so many movies that I'm thinking that when I first saw them, I was like, oh, this is like 4 or 5 on my list. But they're the ones I'm constantly thinking about, even though I
Mhm.
may have rated like another one higher earlier in the year. Like,
Yes.
it's fascinating what my brain has latched onto and is like rerunning in my head, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that one will absolutely be like
Mhm.
in my head. It's one of those where I want to watch it again. I'm telling people about it. Like, yeah, it was spectacular. I loved it.
Did you know what it was about going in, or how blind did you go in?
Completely blind. Didn't
Yeah,
know
so did
anything.
we. Do you think that enhanced your experience because you were like, what's going to happen next?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because I didn't know any of the premise. The only thing that I ever saw was just the poster for it on Netflix when I would,
Yeah,
because I
uh-huh.
just added it to my saved list, watch later list. But other than that, no. And actually, I'm glad you brought that up because there was a trailer that I saw, for Heart Eyes when I watched Heretic.
Oh,
And I feel like whenever we do cover that movie, we're going to talk about trailer failure because it felt like they gave away so much of the
Sure.
good kills.
Yeah, we saw
And I'm
that
just
in
afraid
theaters
it's
too.
not going to be,
Yeah.
any good when we actually watch it. But this one, it's what's inside. It was just such a great concept. Everyone was incredible actors, and yeah, I loved it.
And the
It was great.
script was so good, and it's so satisfying and clever, and all the characters actually felt layered. Like for
Mhm.
being stereotypes, they also felt layered at the same. It was just what an art, what a piece of art that really says something and is exciting to watch
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah, I know. I want to like maybe get on some like shrooms or something and then watch it again, just because all the trailers were so intense. And
Yeah.
I loved it. I was like, look, how can I enhance this experience at
Mhm.
home and watch this again? But yeah, it was great.
So
Did you
good.
guys watch anything?
We did.
Okay.
I watched it. I was my first time watching it, but Jamie hadn't seen it since like came out in like 2001. We watched
yeah.
Jeepers Creepers.
Oh,
Is it bad that I literally didn't even remember? And I was like, what is he talking about? Yep, we did watch that.
We watched Jeepers Creepers. I had never seen it before.
Yes.
What a
I've never seen it
movie.
either. Yeah.
Jeepers
You've never seen it? Oh my
Creepers.
god, it's so
Oh, you've never
wild.
seen it?
Mm-mm.
Oh, now I have. Jeepers Creepers scratches that early 2000s itch really well.
Okay.
But also, it's an hour and a half and it feels like 17 hours. It makes no sense. Decisions are insane.
Okay.
Characters are likable, but not at the same time. So, like,
Yep.
it literally is an early 2000s movie. I can't believe people like loved this and like it got sequels and stuff like that. But I also get why people love this and they have like a nostalgia and affection for it. But I'm very happy I finally watched it.
Yeah, doesn't it have a really cool monster?
He's okay,
yeah.
but
Oh,
yes.
okay.
He's fine.
Yes. Because I feel like when people do those ratings of like who they would beat or who they feel like they could kill, like the top 10, like people get to like the Jeepers Creepers monster and they're like, no, absolutely not. It's like, well,
Yeah, I don't think I could beat him. But there's some wild things that happened in that movie. We watched it on
Tubi?
Tubi.
Oh, gorgeous.
Yeah. So I would listen. I just feel like you'll really like it in the way that you really like, the Faculty and stuff like that.
Yes.
The Faculty is
Yeah.
far better than this, though.
Yeah. But early 2000s, like that's my jam for
Yeah.
a horror movie. So,
That's our 80s to people in the 90s.
oh God, yes,
But
we're old.
yeah. But yeah, Jeepers Creepers. Something about
Great.
peepers.
Get creeping.
Get creeping.
Get
Or
creeping.
maybe.
They need the tagline.
Yeah, get
There you
creeping.
go.
Feel free to use that. Get creeping.
Yeah.
When it comes with the anniversary, just like throw that out there for them.
Yeah, get creeping.
Jamie.
Get creeping.
Gorgeous. All right. Well, y'all ready to get into Heretic?
Let's do it.
Let's
Yeah.
do it.
All right, producer Brian, we need a 2-minute plot summary.
What's the plot?
Okay, I'm ready. I mean, I'm not, but I'll do my best.
Yes.
You got this. All right. I don't know why I clicked every single other app except for the clock. Okay. Are you ready?
Yes.
Great. Ready, steady, go.
Okay, there are 2 Mormon missionaries in a suburb of Colorado, of Denver. I think they're like in and around Boulder. Not that matters. But there's a snowstorm, and they're going to different people's houses, trying to convert people, give them the word of the Mormon Church of Latter-day Saints. And one of them is, they're both young women. One of them is a little bit newer to going out on missionary on missions. The other one is a little bit more of a veteran of that. She converts people very easily. The one that converts people seems to be a little bit shaken and questioning her faith. The other one, Sister Paxton, is very devoted, and they end up at Mr. Reed's house. Who is Hugh Grant. He invites them in. They can only be in there if a woman is present. He says his wife is in the back baking pie for them. Anyway, he starts to have a lot of theological conversations with them, and he is clearly very well informed about the mission, the Mormon Church, as well as other church. Anyway, long story short, he locks them in the house. He's very charming. He's very informed. They can't get out. They make some pretty good decisions in general. Then he basically gives them a door. One is belief, one is non-belief, or I forget what it is. Is what?
Disbelief.
Disbelief, thank you. And he goes through kind of religion throughout time, and that religion is just like a figment of your imagination. It's just repeated facts that are not real. Anyway, they choose the disbelief door. They all go down the disbelief door. Now they're in a basement, and he says that there's this woman in there. He kills the woman with a pie poison, and then the woman comes back to life. He ends up killing Sophie Thatcher's character, that woman, the veteran one, and then the other one questions his beliefs and then figures out that he has all these women kind of trapped in there, and he kills one and switches it out for another one to prove the resurrection, and then and then she ends up killing him, and then Sister Barnes comes back and kills him, and then she escapes, and the end is very ambiguous. End of movie.
And that's the plot.
Yes.
Sure, that's the twist, but this movie is mostly a theological conversation for 95% of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Well, let's get into it with our first segment, likes and gripes.
And now our likes and gripes.
Okay. I would love to start just because I don't have much to say about this, but
Yeah.
um
Oh,
just sort of
wait.
start off the conversation. Yes.
We have a new segment that I haven't figured out yet,
Oh, yes.
where we all say if we liked it or not,
Got it.
Mm.
At the top.
so that we can set you, the listener, expectations of where we're all coming from. I haven't thought of anything like fun to like rename this, like we have the 4 S's or whatnot, and we'll think of like a pun or something in there, like meh or rare. I don't know, that was bad. Don't use that one.
Meh or
But
rare.
let's go through us if we liked it, and then we'll get into more depth of like how much we liked it, how much we didn't, if we were right in the middle. So Nikisha, did you like it? Yes or no?
Yes.
Jamie, did you like it? Yes or no?
Yes.
I
Brian,
also liked
did you
it.
like it? Yes or no?
Oh, you're right. Thank you for doing that. I felt left out. Yes, I did like it.
Great.
Okay. Great.
Great. So we're all coming from a space
We'll
of, like,
workshop
we
that.
enjoyed
We'll
it.
workshop that.
Yes.
Thank you for being
Cool.
Thank you for being patient with us. Well, we're going to workshop that.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. So we all are coming from a place of like we enjoyed this movie. I will say I enjoyed, even though it was like Brian mentioned, like 90% theology talk. I really enjoyed it, and it was probably just because of my background with organized religion, and so it's always fun to hear just people talk about even religions that I didn't even grow up with. So I just really had a good time, and I thought it was a very good tension building because the scene with them in the living room lasted for such a long time, and I didn't realize it until we finally moved away from the living room scene, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh wait, gosh, yeah, they have been in there talking for so long. But I loved it because what they were talking about was so engaging, at least for me, and how we're watching these girls respond to Hugh Grant and what he's saying, and just the subtlety of them changing and realizing they're in danger. I just really thought that it set it up really well. So love that entire scene. At the beginning, I love the titles of everyone who's in it kind of being around in a square.
Oh,
for some
yeah.
reason. I don't know why or how that relates to anything. I don't know, but I just really enjoyed how that was set up. Of course, the Book of Mormon reference, hilarious. Of the musical, hilarious. When they were just talking about, well, there's a whole, musical, and I like the songs.
Yeah. to jump out, just to talk about Book of Mormon, the musical, for a second.
Yeah.
I think this movie does a really good job of pulling itself out of the stereotype early on. The fact that they can comment on the Book of Mormon, because that's important, because you're going to be thinking about that the whole time. If they don't say something and get it out of the way, then like it's always going to be kind of in the back of your head a little bit. I also thought the opening sequence of them talking about like porn and finding like God in those moments and stuff like that was really interesting to ground these people as not like these prudish, like
like holier than
female
thou
character, holier than thou.
Yes.
And I think by those conversations you set up the characters really well, and I think that just did so much groundwork of these characters not feeling like Book of Mormon musical characters, if you will.
Right. Yeah, but I couldn't help but 2 by 2 was just playing in my head.
Oh yeah, of course.
Said it the whole time.
Orlando. Yeah, totally. 100%.
Oh, so good. So yes, love that reference. And like you said, it doesn't take itself too seriously. I also think as a general note about this movie, it doesn't it feels like it's not banging you over the head with a specific doctrine. Because I compare this movie to watching The Deliverance, right, which is another kind of religious horror movie, but it absolutely has the agenda of Christianity at the end
Mm-hmm.
of it, and that is like the meaning behind it, and all of the characters are like coming to Christ and all this stuff. But like, of course this movie's called The Heretic, so it's going to be everything, but I just feel like it still
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a the Mormons win at the end and everything is like fine and dandy because they
Yeah, sure.
believed, and it
Mm.
didn't feel like there was this outside agenda with this movie, which I just really
Yeah.
appreciated.
And on the
Mm-hmm.
flip side of that, it wasn't like the person who hates religion won, like you shouldn't like
Right.
religion, like, and even
Yes.
it will, and we'll talk about the final shot of the movie too, because I think that says a
Yes.
lot about it. But yeah,
Hmm.
I totally agree with you. I think that's an excellent point.
Yeah. So I think that's why it made me enjoy it. And it was, to your point too, Brian, about like it's also not the other way around with like the non-Christian winning. I found myself within the conversation in the living room, like rooting for both parties of their
Yeah,
point, you
totally.
know,
Mm-hmm.
which is really interesting of just like giving someone a different point of view and seeing how they react to it. It was just really awesome how they tied that dialogue together. um so yeah, I found myself being like, Hugh Grant, yeah, make your points, like what
Mm-hmm.
you're knowledgeable, I want to hear what you have to say, and then what do these ladies have to say about it, and what does their religion say about it. So yes, tension building, great. Creep, Radiohead, great. The Monopoly analogy, fantastic. I
So
don't know what it
good.
was, but it just how you can take something so universal. I mean, all this is universal, but like the religion with the games and putting it together, like the OG with like the remake or the one that got most popular and all this stuff. I just thought that was a great way to explain religion. And I love the prophet makeup. I thought that was wild, with
Mm-hmm.
the black eyes and
Mm-hmm.
um, so many quotes. But finding faith in a doctrine you believe, I just loved that quote. The more you know, the less you believe. It's like, oh yeah, that rings. It all just was very relevant for
Mm.
me and
Mm-hmm.
in my own journey with religion and things. Um, I also loved the random twist of Hugh Grant trying to make her seem like a robot, and it was just a birth control like
Oh, I
chip that she
loved
had.
that.
Mm.
I
Mm-hmm.
thought that like I thought that was fantastic. Like him trying to working on the fly, like and trying to
Yeah.
like. I just thought that
It was
scene was
really clever.
really good, and her questioning everything. Like whenever the movie got back to the theological conversations, that's when it was strongest for me.
Yes, I agree. And just the assumption that this Mormon girl wouldn't know about contraceptives.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I
Mm-hmm.
just thought that that was an interesting thing for him to just assume, like, I can just tell her whatever
And
because
she'll
she'll
just believe
believe
me.
whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I just loved that. Also, the idea of Paxton trying to get out by being kind. And that just was so gut wrenching to me as a woman, because it just felt like
Hmm.
women having to just be kind to try to get out of uncomfortable situations,
Mm-hmm.
but then it's just not working.
Yeah.
And it was just really heartbreaking. I also thought that she was a fantastic actress. I had to look up and see what other stuff that she's been in, but I
Mm.
haven't, the things that she has been in, I have not seen. But I just really liked her journey and trajectory with the character. But yeah, all in all, I loved how everything was shot. One of my favorite shots was when Paxton is climbing up the steps and they zoom out, and then it's the model, and then we see
Yeah.
Paxton coming
Mm-hmm.
in. Wonderful shot. Like we mentioned, the butterfly at the end, was it there? Was it not? It's just a great
TBD.
like bow on top of the present of
Mm-hmm.
what is real, what is not, what do you believe, all those things. So yeah, another quote that I really liked: we don't have to be a physical threat, but we can be an intelligent one.
Mm-hmm.
Gorgeous. uh Not knowing is frightening, which is why religion exists. Also great quotes. Yes, just so many great quotable things. But That's mostly all. But I just really had a great time watching this. I thought
Mm-hmm.
it was great commentary on religion in general without being forcing hand, and the acting was great. And yeah, it was awesome.
Hmm.
Jamie?
Yeah, I agree. I had a really enjoyable time watching this, and I thought like other things I thought were interesting or enjoyable. I'm really loving Hugh Grant in this like villain era. Again, it's like I think that there's something about, you know, it's it gives like Barbarian in a way where
Mm,
you cast somebody in a role and you're expecting a certain thing out of them, and you're getting some of that, but it's not in the way that you think, because I do think that Hugh Grant is like weirdly very charming, and there's enough like niceties happening where you might be giving him the benefit of the doubt, which is what I think he's like hoping for. And that feels really real. Again, I think kind of what Nikisha was saying, like, you know, being a woman and like feeling like you have to behave a certain way in order to like be seen as polite, in order to potentially safely escape an unsafe situation. Like there's a variety of reasons why I think there's this like, you know, pressure to perform in a certain interaction, and I think he's really playing into all of that really exceptionally and is like very charismatic, and I think it's because he's Hugh Grant. So
mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to, you know, hopefully he's continuing on this horror, a new horror king in our midst. I don't know, but
Yes.
I'm into it. um I also like how, and not that, you know, everybody has their career paths and whatever. I'm pretty sure that Sister Paxton was like found in the Fablemans, and like that was like her start. But like I didn't know who she was, and I thought it was really interesting that they like put Sophie Thatcher, who I do know who she is, in
Yeah.
this role where you think she's going to play this like more like a larger role in terms of like how she's going to navigate things just based on her interactions with Mr. Reed in those
Mhm.
scenes. And then she gets killed off and you're just like,
Mm-hmm.
whoa, what's happening? And
Yeah.
then Sister
Right.
Paxton really throws you off by being like incredibly insightful, observant, thoughtful, like very smart, very brilliant, and all of that really just like enhances this experience. So like I think that they did a really excellent job with casting. They subverted a lot of expectations with that, and it just like kept me a lot more engaged in those conversations, because there were a couple parts where I was like, okay, we get it, like
Mm-hmm.
let's move on. Just a little bit, but
Yeah.
I think like I don't think this movie can be any longer. I think maybe even if you could figure out how to like shave a few minutes off of this movie, um just because it's like on the edge of like the I think this is too long. But I thought that the idea of like control as like the center of it all. I thought that the idea that he's like using religion as the like overarching theme, but like what it's really about is control, is really interesting. And I have some like mixed thoughts on that. Not that like I'm not a religious person. I just
Mm-hmm.
think it was more like justifying his bad actions of like how he has a bunch of women trapped in cages in his basement, because we don't even know what the other circumstances are of like how all those other women ended up there. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
were they all missionaries? Like how did what
Right.
what's the deal? Like it just made me more curious, like is this person a master manipulator in that like he is able to like converse his way and bring all these people into his home and like let their guard down, and that's how he's able to take advantage of them? But like is the context always the same? Like how did he like kidnap all of these women? So that it was like that was kind of the rabbit hole that my brain started to go down, where
Mm-hmm.
i'm I'm thinking that he's just like a master manipulator, evil guy, almost like a like cult leadery, because of
Yeah.
the way that
Agreed.
he had all of them just like do whatever for him. Um, he's also very scary to them, clearly.
Yeah.
But but yeah, like in terms of control and like religion, I don't know. I again, like as a not particularly religious person, I think I'm still trying to like make sense of what I think about that. But I do think that that was a really good way to manipulate the two Mormon missionaries into like getting their feet in the door for him to like then use his skills on, if you will.
Yeah.
So that was all really fascinating. I don't know if Topher Grace needed to be in this movie.
No, what was the point?
I just was like, oh, that's Topher Grace. What's he been up to? I guess this.
Yeah.
And then off he goes. But all in all, I thought like the conversations were interesting. The like parallels between like there were really clever moments. Like there was the quote about like with great power comes great responsibility, and she's
Oh,
like, oh,
yes.
Spider-Man, and he's like Voltaire. And like that there's another time that happens
At the end. Yeah.
yeah, like I thought those moments were like really really clever. And then the end I also thought was really really interesting, again, of like what do we think happened, and like, you know, did she actually make it?
Right.
But there was a moment where the movie got me and I was like, what? Like, you're trying to tell me this is a simulation now? I think you're like, I almost was had, and then I was really glad that she kind of brought this all down to reality real quick. I was
Yeah,
like,
that was
okay,
nice.
let me
She's like,
let me
no.
not. I was like, what? Like, excuse me?
But also, the sister, on that note, the sister Paxton character, I feel like one of the things this movie had to do was justify the fact that he could read the room and put the key into Paxton's pocket because he knew that she would be the one to make it through to the end. And I think that was believable in this movie, the way that it was written, the way that the woman who played Paxton like portrayed that role. I think it was totally justifiable that he would have been able to read the room enough that that Sister Paxton will be the one who could potentially make it towards the quote end.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it like again just speaks to him being this master manipulator and like doing a really good job at reading people. And like just based off of like very brief interactions. And like doing enough, like pushing the envelope enough to see who would submit to his line of questioning, because he always would preface it with like, oh, I might ask something like, you know, uncomfortable, and kind of like based off of the responses that would kind of like help him determine, like make those determinations of like who can I push to move in this direction.
Yeah, like
So
blueberry disease.
yeah, that was weird.
That was so weird.
Yeah.
But I think it was part of that, like, I'm gonna do and say things that are uncomfortable and
Totally.
see what the response is, because like how often would somebody actually, and like it made me really look inward and question myself of like how often do I just say nothing out of being polite and like really hate that. Like I hate that quality about myself. It's like something that I feel like I have to really unlearn, is like speak up. Like I need to speak up more. Like who cares if I like come across as like, you know, not polite in that moment. Like that could be life-saving in a variety of ways. Like I think we need to like pay more attention to all of those like inner alarm bells going off when something like really weird is happening, when someone straight up is like no, you can't ask me that, like that's a weird question, I'm sorry, like I have to go.
Right.
Bye.
I'm uncomfortable. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Agreed.
yeah, it's there were definitely some really uncomfortable moments in like that first half of the movie for like for like all of the social interaction stuff. The second half was like really got more into the like fun thriller vibe, but like the first half I was like really like sweating those those conversations.
It was intense.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it really did go left. You didn't know exactly what he was gonna ask, especially when the first time he said, "Can I ask an uncomfortable question?" and they were kind of like, well, we don't know what the question is, so like just
Mm-hmm.
ask us. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was just
Like,
great on
isn't
the
that's like an
teachability.
annoying question?
It is.
Yeah.
Just say what you have to
Can I-
say.
Yeah. Just ask your
everything,
question.
what I liked about that is everything he did in the first sequence is fully calculated, like you said
Oh,
earlier.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, but I also never want anyone to text me and say like, oh, can we talk? Like, just tell me what you want to say. I'm like 5 seconds away from blocking your number forever.
That's
Never
so true.
ever text me that. Oh.
Oh no, I get it. And or when people are like, okay, I have to tell you something, don't freak out. What?
I can't
Why would you
control what my
s-
reaction is going to be. Like,
So
I
just
cannot
tell
promise
me.
you what, like, how I'm going to receive this information. Like, I don't
Yes.
know what the future holds. If you tell me something that is so outlandish, like, I'm going to respond accordingly.
Right. So don't just go. It's like already telling you to calm down without you haven't even done anything. It's like, don't do
Yeah.
that.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Great. Do you have any other likes and gripes, Jamie?
I think that was mostly it. I liked it.
Okay.
I didn't really
Wait, I have
gripe it.
a question for you though. Just in general, because you said you are not that religious, but you do practice some uh Judaism, uh or observe holidays and such.
Um, ish.
Yeah. I mean, I was just wondering. It was just a random question.
I mean, I don't remember the last time that I went to like a synagogue.
Yeah.
With the exception of like a family event.
Mm,
But like outside of that, I haven't done anything. I would say like it's more like cultural experiences as opposed to like religious observances.
fair.
I haven't fasted for anything.
Mhm.
I only like Passover because I like brisket.
Love brisket.
And matzo ball soup. Like I like Passover because I like the
Ooh.
food. Like I like Thanksgiving
Yes.
because I like the food.
Yeah.
Um
That's
but
absolutely fair.
that's that's my real answer. So I hope my parents aren't listening. We light the candles for Hanukkah, but again, I
Gorgeous.
think that's more of like it's another like holiday and presents are involved.
There you go.
So
Which I think it's always been it was always so cool hearing about other religions' actual like hand me down traditions. Whereas like I just grew up in a Black Baptist church, and so there wasn't really like a thing that we all just kind of do as traditions that are for our denomination, you know.
mm-hmm.
It's just kind of,
Yeah.
so I don't know, it was always just interesting to be like, there's you light candles for Hanukkah, you know, and there's
But
like
that's like just
Rosh
the
Hashanah, and
yeah, that's like some of the things are like just that's the holiday. But I think
Mm,
like for my family, we didn't really like do when I was really little, I think we like went to Shabbat services once
mhm.
and uh I think like that was really it. But like I mean, my parents weren't doing a lot of things other than like going to the synagogue for like Rosh Hashanah and stuff, but like they
Mhm.
weren't there. I don't have any like big family traditions or like things that we would do regularly.
Mhm.
So that's also why like I have a Christmas tree in my house.
Gorgeous. Yes.
Because
Yeah.
that was like I mean, yeah, it's more interesting of like growing up having certain Jewish religious experiences because my parents made me, but then
Mhm.
also my entire extended family is Catholic and we would come together as a family to celebrate like Thanksgiving sometimes and Christmas.
Mhm.
And but like my house was the only house that didn't have a Christmas tree because my parents were like, but we're Jewish. And I was like, I get it, but
Yeah.
we're celebrating Christmas. Like, do you see how I'm confused here?
Right, exactly.
So like I have a lot of things that feel disconnected from like the religious aspects, like Christmas. Cause like I want to put a fun, like, you know, who doesn't like having plants in their home? And I'm just decorating this plant and putting
Yes.
presents under it.
And it smells great. So,
Yeah. Well, mine's fake, but
oh.
but I even have candles that smell like evergreen to like make
There
the
you
whole
go.
house smell like, you know, whatever.
Yes. I love that. Wait, producer Brian, when growing up, did you were you involved in a lot of Jewish traditions, or kind of the
Yeah,
same
I
as
mean, I went
Jamie?
to Hebrew school, I went to Sunday school, all that stuff. I was bar mitzvahed.
Yeah.
like all
Bar
of that
mitzvah.
stuff. And then after the
Do
bar
you give a
mitzvah,
theme? Do you give a bar mitzvah theme?
I did James Bond.
That is so Brian coded. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Um,
Yes.
so yeah, I did all of that. We celebrated all that. We did all the holidays, and even now we do all the holidays and stuff. But like, I don't go to temple or shul or anything. Like, I'm not going to synagogue and stuff like that. And like,
Mm,
I question a lot of organized religion and stuff like that. But
for sure.
it's very much a cultural thing because I think Judaism, different than other things, is it's a group of people and it's cultural. Whereas like, Christianity, you have different sects, you have different types of people. So you have Irish people like as a culture who are this type of religion versus like,
Yes.
it's definitely a different experience for sure. It's a different type of community for sure, and a lot of it is cultural because a lot of it is not necessarily like celebrating a religious thing, but like Rosh Hashanah is the new year. You know what I
Mm,
mean?
mm-hmm.
Like, and
Okay.
but you celebrate it with religious ties and stuff like that. But there's a lot in there for sure. But I would not call myself religious. I'm definitely the cultural aspect, and and I love that aspect of it for sure.
Yeah. Will Elliot have a bar mitzvah or no?
I mean, we'll see. My guess would be yes.
Okay.
I didn't have a choice.
Mm,
So I don't know if I feel like imposing that on him, but I don't know, maybe I'll feel differently when he is of age. But we
I don't
have
know.
joked about a theme for
Yes, we
him.
have
what?
joked
Wait,
about
but Jamie.
things.
Okay, before you say that, what was your theme for your bar mitzvah?
I actually didn't have one. Um,
Oh.
however, my mom had had made the suggestion of flags because my bat mitzvah because my bat mitzvah fell on Flag Day, and she
That's
was like, "Oh, you
insane to
could."
me. That's
She's like, "You could do
crazy.
flags. You could just put a bunch of different flags." I was like,
I
"I'm not doing that. That has nothing to do with anything. I have no connection
Literally.
to flags. What?" But I think about
Flags.
that every time. I'm like,
I
"Oh, yeah, I'm glad that I didn't have a theme
that's
because it would have been
nuts.
flags."
Each that's nuts. Just
Just have
even
an
as a
American flag
suggestion.
dress.
Yeah.
Oh my, no, I wasn't gonna wear
Okay.
flags, but the table, I think it was just like, that's how, like, the tables are flags. I was like, I don't want that. Can you
No,
imagine being
thank
a
you.
12-year-old and you have a flag themed party? Oh my
Oh
God. I would never
yeah.
go to school ever again.
I was gonna
No.
say you would
Like,
have
I'm
gotten
done.
bullied a lot,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
But
I'm homeschooled now.
I think there's something to be said about flags and their importance. No, I think there's something to be. This is another conversation, but I
Whew.
think there's when
Mhm.
it comes to religion, I think there is something to be said about giving your child the tools to make a decision for themselves when they're old
For
enough.
sure.
And obviously, like, it's going to be biased because you're teaching them one way of doing it, but I also wouldn't want to be heavy handed about it. You know what I mean? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't want to be like, I don't know. So, but they come from a certain place, and I would want them to learn all of those things and make decisions for themselves.
Well, I also think it's like values connected, like wanting
Yeah.
to
Yes.
instill certain values in your children. But like there is a lot of overlap with religion and values. And so like
Hmm.
that often kind of playing that role. But because I think when you like we were talking about like the comments of like the Book of Mormon with this, and it's like I think there are certain perceptions that like when you're outside of a religion of what that religion's values are. And so
Hmm.
I think that it's something that I think about too of like what most importantly are the values that I want to instill, and like does religion play a role in that? I don't know, but most importantly is like I want certain values for like my family to uphold and to
Mm-hmm.
like teach that to our son. And like how we do that, I feel like you can do that in a variety of ways. It doesn't require only religion to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it also kind of feels like the values, like you said, Jamie, are attached, like can be intertwined with the religion, but then there's also this person that's like throwing the whip of discipline to make you do those values,
Right.
like with these religions, as opposed to like just what are values, like being kind to be kind, not being kind because God is going to put you to hell if you are mean to somebody, you know?
Yeah.
And so
Right.
like just different ways of presenting that information. And I think at
Mhm.
least like for me, a lot of the times the values were only like a means to an end in a sense of
Hmm.
like the values, you act this way because you want to end up in a certain place, or you act this
Like there's like a
way.
benefit to it. Like you're gonna get something
Yes.
good if you're
Right,
like if
right.
you do
Yes.
all of these things, as opposed to like you should want to be a good person because it's like
Exactly.
Right.
the right
If
thing.
if you're a good person, you'll go to heaven versus like you should just be a good person because like it benefits everyone around you.
Exactly. Yeah. But
Mhm.
it is definitely a fire and brimstone hell
Sure.
ideal, you know, if you don't do these things, like if you
Mhm.
don't think certain thoughts, and then you're like, well, what, I can't control my thoughts, like what's
Yeah.
going on?
Right.
And then you get into
Mhm.
that cycle of like, that's mostly why I'm in
Mhm.
therapy. You know, it's like with the thoughts, like my
I'm
thoughts
thinking
are
these
just my
things
thoughts.
and like
I'm thinking
does
these
God
things.
know? And like now
Right,
what?
exactly.
Yeah. He can
God,
hear
so-
everything. Oh my god, yeah. All the
yes,
questions that like comes
yes,
from it. Yep. Mhm.
yeah. And then like to be at that age of 8, 9 years old and thinking like, oh my god, I'm about to go to hell because I had this bad thought that I didn't speak
Yeah.
to anyone, that I didn't act on at all. And it's like,
Mhm.
what are you instilling inside of that person? And just
Anxiety.
also anxiety.
Yeah, just a different form of
That.
That's
anxiety and
anxiety.
trauma.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Also, a side note, and then we'll go to Brian for your likes and gripes. What was going to be the Elliot's theme for the bar mitzvah? You didn't share that y'all were toying around with.
Oh,
What was
of
the
course.
theme? I just want to know.
Pokemon.
But
Yes.
what was it specifically?
Specifically uh like
I evolved into a man.
like the T-shirt, like Elliot evolved into a man at his bar mitzvah, like that type of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's
Absolutely.
gotta like it though. We gotta
Yeah.
that's
So if you
what,
like
see,
that theme, you're welcome to use it.
yeah. We don't care if he
Please
latches
credit
on to
us.
religion. He has to like the things that we like, you know.
I was gonna say like now
That's
he
all that
really you have to
matters.
get
Yeah,
him into
yeah. He has to
Pokemon,
like
so
horror
he can.
movies and Pokemon
Mhm.
Right.
and all that and all Star Wars and stuff. But
Obsessed.
yeah, I think all these are very interesting. I think we all have our very own unique relationship with religion, and I think this movie explores a lot of that because quite frankly, I found myself agreeing with him more often than not.
Yes.
And these are conversations I've had in my head and with other people, especially when he brings up all of the not coincidences. Like all these religions stole numbers and things from other places. Like they voted and made Jesus's birthday the 25th. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
like there were votes like in Roman times and they stole from the pagans, and every religion has done it, and I agree with him because like, you know, but we've talked about on this podcast before, there's a difference between like religion and belief, and like
Mhm.
and you're found and stuff like that. But I found a lot.
And also, like, you're not holding women hostage in our basement.
Oh yeah, no.
Of course
Just
not.
to clarify.
I don't agree with everything.
Yes.
But I liked this movie. I found it very engaging. I thought it was well made. I think it is crazy that the guys who made this movie. So what's not crazy is the guys who made this movie co-wrote A Quiet Place.
Mm.
But they also directed the movie Haunt, which we all did not like.
Right.
And
Okay.
he directed 65, which is that dinosaur time travel movie with Adam Driver from last year, which was totally like middle of the road.
Oh, yes. Mhm.
But what's interesting is that the thing I like the most about Haunt is something that this movie kind of like starts to explore a little bit. Because in Haunt, they're talking about like, in Haunt, there's a theme where they talk about like wearing masks and who you really are and what's behind that mask. That was the interesting part of Haunt to me, but it's lost behind the poor decisions of the characters and the stupid stuff in that movie. But this one, I feel like, is the movie that they like are excited to make because they get to actually explore some of the thematic hypothesis that they put out there, and then they explore it throughout the whole movie, which I really appreciated. I agree with everything the two of you said, especially the birth control stuff. I thought like using that was great. Um, I found it like it's just the perfect amount of predictable before you just don't know what's going to happen next. This movie felt like a good M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Mm,
This
yeah.
movie felt like if M. Night Shyamalan was still making movies in the caliber of his like first 3 movies or whatever it is, I feel like this would fall in line with those in some ways. It
I
also
agree.
had
I think I was gonna say I think I put that as well on one of my notes of like this is all a good twist, and it reminded me of M Night.
yeah,
Like this is how you do this.
totally, because it's still interesting thematically. The twist
Yes.
doesn't blow everything up, and then nothing is over explained except for the stuff that needs to be explained for you to feel satisfied. Um, I thought this had martyr vibes to it in some places.
Ooh. Okay.
Mm.
Just the idea, it didn't end up being that way, but the idea that like through pain and suffering, like you can see what's next and stuff like that.
Right.
I think there was a line in there somewhere. I thought it was visually stunning, and you both mentioned this. Even when he's at his most awful, he's still deeply charming, and it's pretty incredible. Um, I liked the idea that even though she questions everything, she still comes out a believer, if you will. Um,
Yes.
uh, yeah, and like I just thought this was really an interesting movie. My gripes about this are not the movie itself. I think Act 3, Act 3, maybe if Act 3 had come a little bit sooner, I would have like been more into it. Even though I was into finding out what happened, I don't know if like that's not what I remember the most from the movie. Um,
Mm.
this is a gripe that Jamie said that I wrote down. Like,
Oh.
would she actually tell that prayer story? Well, as she was like being stabbed,
Yeah. Mm-mm.
like
I
yeah,
agree.
yeah. So that's one. Two, um, uh, I think that this had too much social media hype for me, and this is a
Hmm.
me problem.
Mm.
Everyone was like, this is like one of the best of the year. You just don't know what's going to happen. So many twists and turns. Like, this is a crazy movie. This is so far beyond the movie that I thought it would be. Like, this is my number one with a bullet. And I thought this was really good. But for my taste, and I think it's really well made, don't get me wrong. But for
Mm.
my taste, I was expecting something, I don't know, godly, if you will. Like, and I just got a really good movie, and I don't know. I think that was and wasn't trailer failure at all. Like
Yeah.
that was just kind of like social media really hyping this up and it being good, but it not being like a religious experience again. You know what I mean? Like,
For
Hmm.
sure.
I definitely think that uh I want to see how this movie sits with me in December. Like, am I still thinking about this when we're doing our top 10 type of thing? You know what I
Mm.
mean? But I still really liked it. I just think I think that's one of the dangers of social media. Excuse me. That's one of the very trivial dangers of social media when it comes to um, movie reviews and influencers and stuff like that. Because I still think it was great, and everyone can have their own opinion, and that's what I'm saying. That like,
Yeah.
I just thought this would be like, for me, I my taste for it was like at a 75-80% versus like the 90% that like 100% type of thing. But like this
Mhm.
still falls in my top 10 of the year. Like it's excellent.
It is. Yeah. No, I
Hmm.
So
agree.
that's kind of one of my gripes with it, that I just thought it was going to be, I thought it was great, but I thought it was going to be like, wow, that was Barbarian. And I know you don't
Yes.
feel, I know you don't
But
feel
I
the same way about
yeah.
Barbarian, but like going
Yeah.
in, not knowing anything and like seeing where the twists and turns take you, that one was
Mhm.
exhilarating and took my breath away. This one was like, cool, I got what you're doing. Great.
Yeah.
Even the twists and turns, once they happen, we're like, I feel like I've seen things like this in other movies.
Hmm.
You
Mm.
know what I mean? That's what
Fair.
it was. I would have been more blown away if it was all a fucking, if it was all a
A simulation.
simulation type of thing.
Hmm.
Not that it was ever going to happen, but
Right.
like I was expecting a bigger swing, even though, and I don't mean in like making a twist that is absurd and doesn't make sense. A bigger
Yeah.
swing in general, but I still thought it was very good. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And that's a
No,
me
I
thing. That's an
agree.
expectations on me thing.
Yeah. But I think that this movie isn't like, oh my god, this is incredible, like, but it's great in a lot better than a lot of the movies that we have seen like earlier this
Oh
year,
yeah.
especially like miles ahead of those. But I didn't realize social media was hyping it up like that.
I mean, but I'm on a very specific social media. So like
Fair.
and I'm on it a lot because I'm managing our stuff.
Yeah.
So that I understand that like that is a very specific that's a very specific spot that I am in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But overall, we all had a great time watching this. It was
Yes.
great. Amazing. Anyone else have anything else to say before we move on?
I
I
don't think
don't
so.
think so.
Okay, I think. Oh, Brian, I had mentioned Creep Radiohead, and you made a face like you were going to say something, but
Oh,
maybe the moment has passed.
I know. I just loved all of that stuff. You mentioned the Spider-Man Voltaire thing. I thought that the creep, like the way that he was able to continually show them how things are stolen and taken, like, and why do we exclude religion from that? I thought was
Mhm.
just so expertly done. And even the points that he leaves out when she mentions the Holocaust and other things like that, like I, to me, he was still being fact based because, like, even if you remove the Holocaust and all the Jews that were killed during that, that still you'd think that a group of people who loses a significant amount of their following would employ people to like
More.
go
Yeah.
out and try and bring, but they don't.
Hmm.
It's a very different experience of religion than it is to be in other ones that are always recruiting. So I thought that was he was making interesting points, and even their points I thought weren't as sharp, and he knew that. I don't. This movie never pretends to weight knowledge more than another one to move the plot forward. It you know like it does a really good job of taking the facts for what they are and allowing you to add the weight to it, but having a very specific point of view of the characters and how much weight they give to all of the facts and non-facts and belief and feeling to everything. And I thought that was just so expertly done. And
Yeah.
I really applaud not only the screenwriters, but the just the overall tone of everybody in this movie being on the same page. And I just think that if he's too wacky like a Longlegs character, then this
Yeah.
movie
Mm-hmm.
doesn't work. If they're too stereotypical Mormon girls that we see in other media, this doesn't work. If the
Agreed.
like if the script is all over the place bombastic, like it doesn't work. It just the perfect tone all the way through, including the weird twists at the end.
Yeah. And and like to your point too, Brian, of it being realistic on the facts that Hugh is or Mr. Reed is saying. Even I loved at the end where Sophia was talking to Paxton and basically saying like, you've heard all of this, like, do you still believe in God, you know? And she was like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I do. And I just love that moment of like, that's their reality and they're still going with what their reality
Yeah,
is, and he's going with what his reality is, and it's not a matter of like, I'm hearing one side or the other and I'm switching what I believe
Mm-hmm.
because of what I'm hearing.
absolutely, totally.
Yeah.
And with that being said, thoughts on the ending. So for the listeners, while you think about that, for listeners, sister what's her name? Braxton?
Paxton.
Paxton, not yeah, I'm mixing the two. It's Barnes and Paxton.
Yes.
Tony Braxton.
Right.
Sister Paxton escapes. She's been wounded, she's been stabbed, and she ends up escaping, and she's outside, and and she had mentioned earlier that if she ever died, she would come back as a butterfly. I think that's what the
Yep.
situation was.
Mm-hmm.
And basically a butterfly lands on her hand to bring her comfort and whatnot. And then the light kind of shines brighter, and then the butterfly disappears, and then it's a shot of her, and the movie ends. So I'm ask you to, how did you interpret that ending?
Yeah, I've thought about that in the wee hours since I've saw this movie.
Sure, you saw it
Because
today, right?
Yeah, I saw it today.
Yeah,
The wee
Because
hours.
I don't know if I gather any specific meaning of it, but I just love, I think that's what I love about it. It kind of just neatly ties up the storyline of what is real, what isn't. Is it because you see something, or is it because you felt something? Is it real because even if the butterfly wasn't real, she saw it in her mind and that's real enough for her, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um so I but it, even at the end when it pans and the butterfly is away, she looks confused and like is that a moment of like I'm back in my reality and, none of am I having the realization that I'm like going against my religion now? It's like you don't know
Mm-hmm.
what it is. And I think that's why I like it, because it's playing kind of both sides of it. Of like,
Yeah.
could she believe this or could she not? Like, is she believing her religion again, or is she like abandoning it, or whatever the case may be? But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I
Jamie.
don't know. What about you, Jamie?
I don't know. I don't want to have to think about what I think
Yes.
happened.
Interesting.
Fair.
Yeah, I mean, I because I don't really know. Um, I like that it's just like not clear. I also like that there's, I mean, the fact that that's what she is perceiving when that's the thing that brings her comfort. So
Yeah.
like she's still seeking out comfort and like the her faith in a way, and like her belief system, whether or not that's real, not real, whatever, but like that's the most that I'm willing to think about it.
Yeah. What about you, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I think the point is that, is it God calling her? Is it her seeing the light at the end of the tunnel that comes with like your brain losing oxygen? Is it a
Mm.
simulation because the butterfly disappears, and like it could be any of those things. And I think it's there for interpretation based on what you believe, and you're bringing it as an audience member. um there's did she actually get out? Was she imagining it? And like that's what happens when she's dying there.
Hmm.
I think that's the charm of it. And
Mm.
it's the spinning top, if you will, in Inception and other movies that end like that. I mean, there's a million movies that end on notes like that. You know,
Yeah.
I because I bring a cynical view of religion to it. To me, that is her dying, and to me that is her dying. That is her giving her life for her belief, and I see it as like her brain synapses are ending, and like she's seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, but she's seeing it how she wants to see it. Other people would
Hmm.
interpret it as like she's going home to God's country. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And then
Mm.
Hmm.
people with tinfoil hats would be like, "Oh, it's the Matrix. She's going to
Oh,
the
the
to the
Matrix.
Matrix." But
Yes.
yeah, and I think that's a successful ending in my
Same.
Book of Mormon.
Absolutely. Yes. Gorgeous. Okay, well, let's get into our next segment. Brains.
Tester.
Tasty. Okay, I'm gonna ask this, Jamie, because you were alluding to it when you were talking about your lice and gripes, and I was like, oh yeah, duh. Why didn't I ask this question? Billy or Stu, Hugh Grant.
Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative. Yeah, pizza scream, baby.
Billy or Stu?
Oh yeah.
Ooh. What do you think?
Well, you were talking about masterminding and stuff, so I'm gonna put my vote in as Billy. He was very strategic in what
Mm-hmm.
he was doing,
What about
but
you,
I don't
Bri?
know.
Yeah, I would say Billy.
I would agree. I think that like
Yay!
his whole everything he's doing is very plotted and thought out. So even with the unpredictability of like you don't know who's going to walk through your door, but like he very clearly has like a whole plan of what he's trying to do.
Right, a whole little system. We love it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's get into the nitty gritty. First question: is based off of the quote, religion is just a system of control, that Hugh Grant says. And so my question to you is, what are some similar psychological tactics that are used to
Oh,
manipulate people within religion and within emotionally abusive relationships?
ooh,
Good
Because they could
question.
be
Good
similar.
question.
good question. Good question.
Yay.
Um,
Thank you.
I mean, I think that I think you got your good old gaslighting. It's
For
always
sure.
a popular strategy.
Hmm.
You know, like denying somebody's experience a little bit. Um, I mean, I think that's a big one just in manipulating folks. Um,
Hmm.
I think isolation is
Oh
another
yeah.
one, isolating you from your support system. Um, and I mean, religion, maybe, I would say more like fringe, culty kind of things. Um, you know, I'm no religion expert when it comes to therapy,
Hmm.
but I do have a lot of experience working with like intimate partner violence. So
Mm.
I do know that these are like themes within that. Um, and and also like whether people are using them like and have awareness about it, or are struggling with their own mental health and not realizing that like they are in fact gaslighting their partners or other people,
Mm.
or are like very dependent and therefore like relying on them very heavily and like kind of taking them, like pulling their attention away from other loved ones. Sometimes I think it can be unintentional and there needs to be a lot of work to be done to like bring awareness to some of these patterns.
Yeah, yeah.
Um but yeah, those are like the two big ones that kind of come to mind, that I feel like there can definitely be some overlap.
Yeah, that makes sense. Especially the isolation. Just in documentaries that I have watched, especially
Sure.
about some Mormon cultures, it's
Hmm.
definitely a lot about isolation.
Hmm.
Uh,
I mean, I think like there is, you know, when you're a part of different religious sects, you're creating a new like family in some ways. Like it could be a
mhm.
Hmm.
chosen family, but it's like a new source of community. But that could be a positive thing, but sometimes that could be a not so positive thing.
Yeah,
So I think it depends on like who is your community made up of, and how are they like uplifting you and supporting you versus holding you back or actively harming you.
Hmm.
And I think sometimes it's more difficult to make that determination.
yeah. Especially because a lot of the times there are like religious converts, and so they're coming from already probably abusive relationships and seeking family and community, and it could be an easy way to like manipulate if you're already in that kind of vulnerable position,
Yeah,
to have the isolation.
vulnerability can definitely be taken advantage of. So again, it's like
Mm,
how
Hmm.
do you like be mindful and protect yourself when that, especially when like some people might suggest like earlier, not earlier in my career necessarily, but like I think in learning in school about like what types of things you want to suggest to people to like seek out that sense of community, like faith and religion is a big one to
mm,
recommend to people. And again, like nobody is saying that like it's all bad, because I don't think
yeah,
it's all bad. But I think that there can be some not so great elements of it. So I
for
think
sure.
it depends on the situation. um but yeah, I think just like be aware.
Yeah,
Be very
awesome.
aware.
Be aware. Great. My next question is, do you think controlling behaviors, like people who have a need for control for everything, do you think that stems from specific personality disorders or mental illnesses?
Hmm. Are you, when you say control everything, like do you mean like what do you mean?
I mean, like in the essence of this movie, like Hugh Grant is wanting to have control over everyone
Mm,
and literally telling them like, I know every move you're going to make, and like
mm,
control is the ultimate like religion. So I'm making you do everything. Like I am
right.
hands on the wheel, like
Hmm.
driving this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I think for that he's evil.
Okay.
So I think he's
Interesting.
Got it.
Interesting.
Yep.
Wait, let me.
I
What was that? Let me take a note. He's
Evil.
evil. Okay,
yes.
nice, nice.
Well, because like I asked for clarification because control
Yeah.
can mean a lot of different things within like mental health. So like if
Tell
it's
me.
if it, if it's like I not in an evil way, but in a like I need to have control, like as an anxious person, I need to have control over everything because that
Oh,
brings me a
fair.
sense of calm and like,
Mm-hmm.
being in control makes me feel better and less anxious, that's a piece of it. And like that exists on a spectrum because you can have like your run of the mill anxiety, you can have OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, where like that degree of control is escalated and can interfere with your ability to like function on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
There's also obsessive compulsive personality disorder, which
Mm-hmm.
is like really like very rigid rules and order, not just the rules that we like on this podcast, but again, more
Yes.
so
We do
in
love rules.
we do love rules, but we are also able to function as people
Right.
if
Mm-hmm.
rules don't exist in a movie. So this is like a
Yes.
very rigid way of thinking and like needing to have control. So sometimes people misconstrue it with OCD, but it's closer to perfectionism, like that level of control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. And
So that's
I
why I was
almost brought
asking.
up. No. Great. That's awesome because we need the clarification. And I almost brought up OCD, but I didn't. I was trying to remember a previous conversation we had about OCD and how it wasn't necessarily like the control that we think it is, but it was because you were talking about the difference between obsessive compulsive personality
Hmm.
as opposed to just like the
Obsessive
OCD that
compulsive.
people kind of,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I was like, well,
Hmm.
let me not bring that one up because that might not be what she's talking about.
No, you're doing great.
Great. No, but that absolutely makes sense, especially with as anxious people, the need for
Hmm.
control to be calm, as opposed to Hugh Grant is like the need for control is like the root of it is evil. It's different
Yes.
intentions.
Yeah. Controlling allows him to like do all the nasty evil things that he's trying to do.
Yes, that makes sense. Yes.
Hmm.
Grand. Last question. Have you ever had an experience of counseling someone that was dealing with maybe a religious issue that contradicted or was condescending to your own like beliefs or religion, and like how were you
Mm.
able to handle that?
Yeah. I mean, I, you know, sometimes a really wonderful thing is like the work that I do means that I'll be exposed to like all kinds of different people
Mm-hmm.
who don't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily like they're not all me. And I would say even more so in like the earlier phases of my career when I basically didn't turn clients down, partially because like that was what my job was, like whoever I'm working, like I get a caseload, I don't get to decide my caseload. So like whoever needs a social worker, I am that social worker.
Yeah.
And like all kinds of people held like different backgrounds than me, held different values than me, things like that. I think one of the skills that I learned from that is like how to navigate those situations, because for me the value is to be able to provide the most consistent service regardless of who I'm interfacing with, was and
Mm-hmm.
is, and that
Mm-hmm.
continues to be. However, also now I do have more control over who I work with because I have my own practice, and like I'm like I'm going to align with folks who share similar values. And this isn't like, I'm not saying like, what are your values? These are mine too. Like, let's be friends, because it's not therapy isn't friendship. But you can still like perceive what people's values are in the work that you do together. There's also therapists who like are very will advertise what their values are very openly on their platforms. And I think that I'm in the camp of like, I like self-disclosure as long as it's in service of a client. I think that there's a really like wonderful way of connecting with people through knowing a little bit about somebody, again, not just for funsies, but like to help somebody. And so I think there's a lot of value in like knowing that you're going to be talking to somebody who like sees that and identifies with it and shares it, because it allows for a really good connection there to then like do the work that you're doing. I would say when I was like a baby social worker, I used a lot of support. You get supervision when you're like early in your career, and so you have another like person who's been in the field preferably longer than you, to like talk through these situations and like get support from them. Because yes, I'm a social worker in this role, but I'm also like human person me. So like I'm gonna be bothered if somebody's like saying something that is like so outside of my like values.
Absolutely.
I think about it like I'm thinking about it a lot in terms of the election, and it's like
I was gonna bring that up. Yes.
if I'm meeting with someone and like they're like, I love Trump, yum yum, I'm like, that's gonna be like, okay, like interesting. You know, I might not share the same values as you.
No,
but like earlier in my career, I don't know if I would have said anything. I've also, because again, like when you're a baby in this field, you're still like educational experiences, and again, depending on the supervisor, you might get people who feel very strongly about like not sharing anything, and they're like, that stuff you keep compartmentalized, and you have to learn how to like compartmentalize those things that are bringing up something for you, and then that's something that you work through in your own supervision. So that's called, for as a therapist, it's called countertransference. Like any of the shit that comes up for me as a person while also wearing my therapist hat, that then I need to like put aside, so that when I'm meeting with my supervisor, I can talk to them about it and be like, hey, you know, this person said they love Trump. Like, I need to chat with you because like, how do I work with them? So like that's a resource that I think is incredibly valuable. I'm not currently in supervision, but like there's other resources, like there's like support groups that you can do. There's group supervision you can do as a therapist. So there's like all kinds of other resources to like navigate. I'm in a million Facebook groups that are questionable. But yeah, so yeah, there's a lot of therapy Facebook groups are wild. That's all I'll say about that. But some are great. Some are like truly something else.
Okay.
But yeah, I think like having those resources to figure out like how to then go back and you know, if you have the autonomy to not have to work with somebody, you know, that could be an option. If you want to challenge yourself in working with people who might hold opposing values, that's also something that you can do. If you don't have a choice, then you might have to learn like, how do I do this? So, and I also like very much don't believe that like everybody has to go through the shitty experiences to get the good ones. Like I hate that. I feel like people feel very strongly. I've encountered that sometimes in this field, and it makes me really mad because like, we don't all have to be traumatized by this work. Can't we just like do what we want to do? I don't like that. So nobody should feel compelled to work with like populations where they feel like their rights are being infringed upon.
Yes. Agreed.
Talk to your supervisors. Get support, please.
Yes.
That's fucked up.
Good answer. Good answer.
That is a great answer. Absolutely. Also, when you said therapists aren't your friends, great thesis statement. Like, go in with that mindset.
I'm sorry.
but that's the truth. You
Yeah,
are
no, I
a
like that.
professional, like, yeah.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
just like,
It is my job. Even if I like my clients and like them as
yeah,
people, like it's still because this is the role that I like first interacted with you. Like, and that's like a lifelong thing. Like I can never be friends with a client, even when we're not
yeah,
working together anymore. It's just part
yeah,
of like the ethics that we're bound to. And
Yeah.
like I believe in those ethics because I think it's what allows us to continue to like do this work. So as much
absolutely.
as I'm like,
Sure.
I think you're cool in my head, that's as far as it's really gonna go.
That's like the
Yeah.
greatest boundary that's like already in
Yeah.
It's a
place.
very
You know?
challenging one,
Yeah, I can imagine. Have
especially with the
you
cool ones.
yes, especially the fun ones. You're like, they tell you stories and you're like, man, I would just want to hang out with you.
Well, it's also funny on the other side when I read people's like not tweets anymore. They're calling them skeets, but I'm not going to call them that on Blue Sky. Um, or I'll say comments on TikTok because I'm not going to say skeets again.
Yes.
But when people are like, "Oh my god, I made a joke and made my therapist laugh, and that was like the greatest moment of my life." And like as a
Yes.
therapist, I'm like, I do like I always laugh at my clients' jokes. Like
Sure.
I'm a
Mhm.
person. I'm not a robot. But there
Right.
are some therapists who don't do that. And like that's another boundary. But it's very much again like that is your own like way. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just like
Right.
that's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
how I practice. I feel like my humanity is part of what makes me a good therapist. So I'm going to laugh at the joke.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Agreed. I. You're not my therapist, but I already know you're a great therapist.
Like, thank you.
Yes. Do you ever supervise other people since you have your own practice? Like, do you have the ability to be a supervisor to other people?
Yeah, I actually did when I was still working not for myself.
Mhm.
I had to there's like a special like training thing that you have to go through to be a supervisor to other baby social workers in order for
Okay.
them to work towards their licenses as well. So I went through that process. I don't even remember how long ago, like 9 years ago, 8 years ago, like a long ass time ago.
Yes.
Um so I can provide supervision to folks who need it as well.
Cute. Love
Mhm.
that. Well, thank
Mhm.
you. That was a lot of great information in brains. Should we rotten tomatin this?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the Rotten Tomatoes game.
Okay.
Tomato.
Tomato, tabudu. What do you think this has on Rotten Tomatoes? Jamie, why don't you go first?
I'm gonna guess 77.
All right. Nikisha?
Yeah, I was going to be in the 70s too. 74.
This movie has a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Good for
Whoa! Wow, I
it.
was so wrong.
But 77% is the audience score.
Oh,
There you go.
interesting. Wow,
And
critics really love it.
the critics' consensus is Hugh Grant has infectious fun playing against type in Heretic, a religious horror that preaches the gospel of cerebral chills over cheap shocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Big
that's-
brains.
Big brains over big scares. Okay. What do you think this has on Letterboxd? As a reminder, it's 0 through 5 with decimal points. This time, Nikisha, you go first.
I'm going to say 3.8.
All right, Jamie.
I'm gonna say 3, 4.
It's a 3.5.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And let's see what the most popular reviews are. I have not read these, so I might be laughing as I read them. The third one is Jigsaw. He was an insufferable Reddit atheist.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That's really good.
Oh,
That should
That's
be number
really
one.
so
good.
funny.
Yeah. Number 2 is I shit you not. Hugh Grant sings "Creep" by Radiohead and meows in this.
What?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Definitely liked the other one, and the most one is No fucking way Hugh Grant just compared Jesus to Jar Jar Binks.
I mean, it was a great through line.
That was
I'm
really
gonna
funny.
like this one. The Jigsaw
Yeah.
insufferable Reddit atheist is brilliant. Thanks,
Spot
Stacy.
on.
Okay. Cool. Should we do the 4 S's?
Yes.
Skull, scare, shakes, and suggestions. The Talking Horrors 4 S's.
The 4 S's are skulls, scares, shakes, and suggestions. We're going to rate skulls, scares, and shakes 1 through 10. Skulls, how well did it handle mental health and human behavior? Scares, how scary was it? Shakes, 1 and done. Can you shake it off? And then we'll do our suggestions after. Jimmy, why don't you start us off with those sweet, sweet 4 S's, or 3 of them?
Sure. For skulls, I keep lowering my score as I keep thinking about it, but no, I know myself, and I'm probably too polite for my own good, so I'm giving it a 7, because I probably wouldn't leave fast enough, and that feels very real to me.
Mhm.
For sure.
And I think that there's like some thoughtfulness in like trying to escape and like how to navigate all the situations. But yeah, I don't think if I'm in my last dying breath, I'm not like giving some long ass speech. I'm just dying. For scares, I gave it a 3. There's some pretty tense moments, a lot of like what the fuck moments. It definitely like held my attention, and I was pretty tense for a good chunk of it. And for shakes, it keeps kind of dwindling as time goes on, which is interesting, but it's a 6.5, I think, right now. I was thinking about it a lot right after we saw it, but you know who keeps coming back into my brain? Good old Sky Riley. I can't get those fucking songs out of my head, and then I can't stop thinking about that movie. It's man, it's really probably going to be number 1.
It's so fucked up in the best way. Man.
I keep thinking about her red outfit when she's sitting in the hallway yelling at everybody. I don't know why, but I just like her in like this like big done up thing, freaking out with everyone in their street clothes around her is just a striking image for whatever reason.
Not
Anyway.
her wearing a gown with a sweatshirt that's covered in blood.
Oh, no.
But I'm the gun.
So good.
No, it's the grandma getting yeeted off the stage.
Oh yeah, that poor grandma. Oh my god. So
good.
Nikisha?
Yeah, mine are very similar. I gave it an 8 for skulls. Also, I just saw this today. Also, this is reflective of that.
Yeah, sure.
Scares are 3 as well, and shakes I gave it a 7. I think that it might stick with me. Just the contents of religion will stick with me.
I give this a 7 for skulls. I gave it a 2 for scares, and I gave it a 6 for shakes.
So we're all in the same area.
Yeah, definitely. And then my suggestion is a movie we covered on the podcast. The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Just this idea. Just if we're from the very like fundamentals, like, is it religious horror or is it explainable through other ways? I think it's exploring some of the same concepts in a very different way. So that's my suggestion.
Yeah, I'll go next because I did religious adjacent horror as well. I just did The Conjuring as a religious thing that didn't feel like it was hitting you over the head with Christianity, even though like the light wins at the end, but it just felt like it's just a good horror movie.
Yeah. Jamie?
I also did some religious horror. Well, first I did do Barbarian for some of the reasons that I said in the beginning.
That's a great. Yeah.
And then I would suggest Saint Maud.
Oh, yeah. That's such a good one.
Yeah.
And The Lodge.
Oh, those are awesome picks. Well done.
Yeah,
that was really
Thank
good.
you.
That,
Thank
wow,
you. Thank
your
you.
suggestions were really good.
Yeah.
And
man.
also, perhaps
the
you can
top of the
listen to
list.
those episodes. I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know.
you can listen to all 3 of the 4, 5.
don't
All of our suggestions
Oh!
are episodes. Whoa! Ding 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 ding! We did it! Ding 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 ding!
Fireworks.
Yeah.
Play Creep.
Yeah. Well, The Lodge was one of the first ones we ever recorded.
I know.
Yeah.
I think about that movie.
I love
Man,
that movie.
So good.
Have we done Saint Maud?
Yes.
I thought we did.
Yeah.
We did an episode.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
I
nice.
wouldn't have watched it otherwise if we didn't. I mean, just because. Like, I
did?
know I wouldn't have. We've done it.
Oh yeah, we did one. August of last year.
Yeah.
Good for us.
Good for us.
Good for us giving
Great
suggestions
movie.
of episodes.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know why else I would have rewatched that movie if we weren't doing it for the pod.
Yeah, because she
Right.
also directed Love Lies Bleeding, same director.
Man, we
Mm.
should
Oh,
still
man,
do that
still
movie if
gotta
we
watch
can.
that.
Movie
Oh
was so
yeah,
good.
I haven't watched it yet. We haven't
Yeah.
watched
Oh, I
it. It's
love
on
that
our
movie.
list. We have quite a list to get through before the end of the year. We're gonna hit the highlights,
Yes.
obviously. We're gonna do like Strange Darling and Asriel and a couple other ones on there
There's
that
so
we haven't
many
watched yet.
movies.
So
Yeah,
many, but
stop movies, stop.
Well,
Well,
I
don't,
think
I
I
mean, don't stop. But
don't stop. Don't stop. Yeah, don't stop. I'm gonna have to watch the Terrifiers. I've seen Terrifier 3 for this.
oh, but also y'all make me want to revisit Barbarian.
Yeah, because it's a great
Yeah.
film.
I don't think I've rewatched that.
Since
Yeah. Maybe, I
Okay.
don't think so.
well, sorry, I was writing down Asriel and Strange Darling because I need to.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We're too busy watching Shark Tank. We really need to pivot.
I know. We need to. We're just like it's just so easy, and we like to see what the new products are. But like we have to watch Cuckoo.
Right, that's also on my
Yeah.
list.
Yeah.
What are we
totally.
doing?
I don't know. I gotta watch Cuckoo,
Sometimes-
but also like, you gonna take the deal? Are you gonna take the deal?
Like I've never watched
Um,
Shark Tank, but I feel like that's exactly. The
Oh
energy
my
that it
god,
is.
don't
don't
even
don't.
start.
If you haven't noticed from everything we've fucking said in this podcast, we have addictive personalities. Pokemon cards, Shark Tank, like don't fucking get us started on something. We watch all of Scandal out of obligation once we got past season 4 when she gets kidnapped.
That was my second time, and I didn't even realize how far I'd gotten until
Oh my God.
every further season. I was like, "Oh shit, I do know that this happens." That was embarrassing.
Anyway,
Oh,
Ugh.
I love it. Somebody's got to do it. You guys are
Yep.
killing it. That's great.
Thanks.
someone's
on
gotta
it.
do it. Yeah, we got it.
Yes.
Yay.
We love, obsessive behaviors here. It's like you
Yeah,
gotta get
super
into it.
healthy.
Super healthy.
Super health.
Also, the world is ending, so like, why the fuck not? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
yeah, that's
honestly,
true.
that's like part of it. Like, I'm never gonna be
Yeah.
able to buy a house or like have Social Security, but like, I have a whole binder of cardboard now,
Yeah.
and some of them are shiny cardboard. So like, I'm happy.
Absolutely. I'm there. I am there with you.
Well, what we should do to force us to watch these things, we only have one. We're doing the others, then we have 2 episodes, then we're doing the best of 2024, and then we have got a fantastic surprise for you for the beginning of next year.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! I can't wait.
Well, actually, we have 3 episodes, so we should fill those in with like Strange Darling, Cuckoo, and we'll pick another one from this year and do like some of those big ones. But yeah, anyway, cool beans.
Great. Well, now you got my anxiety going, Brian. Like we talked about earlier when you text, "Oh, we need to talk," and now I'm going to be thinking about, well, what's going to happen in January?
Oh no, I'll tell you after the.
Okay, great.
Oh yeah, no, we all maybe we didn't. Well, I thought we all agreed on this via text.
Oh, I don't.
Oh, I'll say it now. It's not a surprise.
Oh, okay. My brain is seething.
We're doing Twilight finally.
Oh.
We did not discuss that for real.
I
for
don't
real.
remember. I
We-
don't remember this being a conversation.
Oh, we're gonna do Twilight for our like New Year episode.
I think you said this to me in person, but I don't know
Oh.
if you ever said your thought out loud in the text chain.
Yeah, we talk about being a pro Twilight podcast, and we've never done.
Yeah,
the
we
first
should
Twilight
do
movie.
Twilight.
Hell to
Say
the
it.
fuck yes.
Yeah, I think you just said that to me.
Oh, maybe. Say it.
Out loud.
Say it out loud.
Oh, this is the skin of a killer,
We're-
Bella.
We're only doing the first one. We're not. I can't watch New Moon again. I'll kill myself.
Oh my god, I couldn't even watch that one with you.
No,
I left.
I
you
had
to
to
your own
watch it at like
devices
2
by
in the morning
yourself.
when I like couldn't fall asleep, and that put me to sleep immediately. I watched it in like 10 hours over the course of
Oh, for sure.
Anyway,
Mhm.
Oh my god.
yeah. So we're gonna do the others next week. Then we'll do some of the popular ones from this year that we haven't covered yet.
Yes.
We'll do our best of 2024. That will come out on the 26th, the day after Christmas, and then we'll do Twilight to start the year.
I'm so excited.
New year, new moon.
Get out. The podcast
That's exactly
is
what's gonna
canceled.
be called.
Yeah.
New Year, New Moon. Hey Ted.
Oh,
This
hey
is
Ted.
chilling.
Yeah.
Don't do anything weird.
No. This is why
No.
you got to watch us on YouTube, guys. and
Yeah, you see
cute
the dog in the
dogs.
back
Yes.
licking his
Mhm.
lips.
Fantastic. Well, I think that wraps up our episode of Heretic. What a wild episode. I'm obsessed with us.
This is a good one.
We really
This
did
is
a lot of stuff.
we were just as unpredictable as this film.
Woo.
Right. But I love it. It's fantastic. You can follow us on all of the social medias. Well, Instagram, TikTok, because
Yeah.
whatever to the
We'll
other
stop
one.
there
Hopefully,
for
Blue
right now.
Sky once Brian can hack back into our
Yeah. I guess maybe Threads. Who knows? No one knows.
Yes,
one.
but follow us and then subscribe to us on YouTube.
Where you can find our shorts that we posted
Yes.
on other sites.
I was so surprised. I'm just flipping and I'm like, wait, that's us. Like, and producer Brian, where can they listen to us?
Yeah, you can listen to us wherever you get your podcast, like YouTube. You can watch us there, of course. Hi, YouTube. And then you can find us on things like Spotify as well as Apple Podcasts. Rate and review us there. 5 stars, please.
And thank you.
How should we end the podcast?
Because I'm a creep. I'm a weirdo. I don't like that.
Gorgeous. I love it. That's it. Thanks,
Yes,
guys. Bye.
Bye. I'm a creep. What the hell am I doing here?
Good
Oh, it's so
boy.
good.